There are many different ways how to join a new yarn ball to your knitting. But in this video, I'll show you a pretty universal method how to join any yarn. It's not my favorite method because there are more convenient ones. However, this is universal. First off, you never want to join a new yarn at the end of the row. It will be easier to hide the ends if you are somewhere in the middle or if you have at least a little bit of stitches on both sides. My personal preference is to start by knitting few of the stitches with the new yarn and leave a fairly long end without tying any knots or anything. Just hold your yarn and start knitting in the pattern and make about like 4 stitches. Once you have few stitches and the new yarn is holding on the needles, turn to the wrong side of your work, and only now I tie a knot of the 2 ends. I do it this way because then I can make sure that the end is perfectly where I want it to be. The stitches aren't too loose or too tight. And for now you will just keep knitting with the new yarn and you won't touch the ends at all. When you're ready to weave in your ends, you will need a darning needle. Turn your work to the wrong side, put the ends in the needle, and then just catch those purl bumps with your darning needle and gently pull the yarn through. With this method, I would usually go like 6 stitches on one row, and then I would move to the next row and keep doing the same thing again. When you have done the same amount of stitches weaving back, you want to make a small knot, hold your yarn, and put your darning needle from the opposite way through the purl bump, over the end, and pull through. And that will create a neat little knot. If you are knitting with a very slippery yarn, what you can also do is take apart the plying, basically split your yarn in 2, pull it through 1 stitch, and then just tie a simple knot here. And when you have secured your yarn, you can just snip it off. There on the right side you can see any place where the yarn was woven in, and the place where you joined is also staying nice and even. So ideally, if you are using this method with weaving in ends with your darning needle, ideally you would be using it after you have blocked your knit, because that way you'll be sure that you're not puckering anything together. But let's be real, if you're the sort of person who doesn't want to weave in your ends after everything has been done, it's better to weave in your ends right now than block your knit and then leave it with ends hanging.